of Economic and Workforce Development, produced by the Virtual Outreach Team of the COVID Command Center. Some housekeeping. Today's event will be recorded. Today's event is streamed live on Facebook and YouTube. We respect all participants in this convening today, and we want to create safe space for all. By default, all participants will be muted and video is disabled. Initially, video will be on for speakers only. To participate in Q&A, please select the chat button on the bottom of your screen and send your question to Q&A Jobina Fortson. For those small businesses looking for financial relief, OEWD has support for the following programs: SF Relief Grants, Restaurant Revitalization Fund, Shuttered Venue Operators. Please visit sf.gov/SF-relief-grants for more info. Today, I have the honor of introducing our guest, Jobina Fortson. Jobina Fortson is an Emmy award-winning journalist and currently breaking news and traffic anchor for ABC 7 News in San Francisco, California. Jobina got her first real experience in news writing for her high school newspaper, The Tiger Tales. Jobina broadened that experience as a student at Howard University through radio and television. While studying at Howard, Jobina interned at networks and local television stations in New York and Washington, D.C. She was honored with a White House Correspondents Association scholarship presented by Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama. After graduation, Jobina began reporting for WMDT TV on Maryland's Eastern Shore. Here she dug into all aspects of news production, pitching as a reporter, anchor, producer, photographer, and even floor director. After Maryland, she worked for Wave TV in Louisville, Kentucky. In 2018, Jobina joined ABC 7 News in San Francisco and is proud to be telling stories in the Bay Area.
Thank you so much, Lloyd. That was a very nice introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Jobina Fortson. Again, as Lloyd stated, I am the breaking news and traffic anchor for ABC 7 News, and I have the honor of hosting the panel tonight, sponsored by the San Francisco Office of Economic and Workforce Development for Small Business Week. And we are going to be having a conversation about the roots of advocacy, and especially highlighting SF Black Wallstreet, some of the people behind it, and the incredible work that they are doing in our community. And if you are not familiar, you're going to get familiar tonight. And we are going to start by taking the time to introduce you to our panelists. So we are going to begin with Tanish Hollins. Tanish, if you can talk a little bit about yourself and tell people why you are here tonight.
Hey, Jobina, so good to meet you. I'm so honored to be on this panel with you and my Black Wall Street sisters. My name is Tanish Hollins. I have the honor of being one of the co-founders of SF Black Wallstreet. I'm a San Francisco native from Baby Hunters Point. I am a small business owner, thanks to my sisters here, and we'll tell more about our stories and how we all made our venture into the business community and the work that we're doing right now. Aside from my role with SF Black Wallstreet, I'm also the executive director of Californians for Safety and Justice. Work on policy and criminal justice reform and supporting survivors and victims from our communities and bringing peace. So that's a little bit about me. Honored to be here.
Thank you so much, Tanish. That was great. And I'm excited to dig into your story more. Next up here, we have Gwendolyn Zachary Brown joining us.
Hi, Jobina. Thank you for saying my whole government name.
Yes.
But yeah, so I'm also a co-founder of San Francisco Black Wallstreet. I'm also a San Francisco native from the Lakeview neighborhood, OMI. In my day job, I'm the executive director of Inner City Youth, which is a workforce agency in the OMI. And we recently opened up the OMI Job Center in 2019. And we're on site providing workforce assistance and helping folks recover during the pandemic, along with other things. Inner City Youth has been in this community for over 20 years, and we are an anchor in the community, providing resources to the entire community. And I'm very excited to be here today with my Black Wall Street sisters, OEWD, and yourself. And so looking forward to this conversation today. Thank you so much.
Me too. Thank you, Gwendolyn. Next up here, we have Bivette Brackett.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bivette Brackett. I'm also a San Francisco native, but I grew up in the Filmo or Filthy Mo. And it's just an honor to be here today. I got my roots of entrepreneurship from my dad, and about 20 years ago, I started my own firm, which is the Brackett Group, which provides small business consulting and transformative support services to nonprofits and businesses throughout the Bay Area. And just honored to be here today and to talk with everyone about being in community, because I'm very passionate about supporting us and making sure that San Francisco continues to be a place where we have communion with our neighbors.
Yes. And Tiffany Carter.
Hey everyone, I am Tiffany Carter, also a San Francisco native, straight out of Bayview. I'm also a small business owner of Bouge Cali Creole Shack, recently opened at 332 Golden Gate downtown, so definitely come by and check me out, with locations in the Chase Center also. I'm here basically very passionate about Black business in San Francisco and doing what I can to secure that in San Francisco, Black space and home equity. And I'm very happy to have this conversation tonight.
Thank you, Tiffany, Tanish, Bivette, Gwendolyn, all amazing and contributing in your own way. And I want this to be a very free-flowing conversation so that we can really get into the details of how you all started SF Black Wallstreet and how it's continuing to flourish now. So to kick it off here, you all got together. There were other people involved with this as well. In June 2020, anyone can jump in here and take it away as to why you started SF Black Wallstreet. Let's begin there.
Tiffany never wants to start, so I'm gonna start.
Oh, look.
I thought Tiffany was gonna start. I was like,
Come on, neighborhood.
Not everyone at once.
Hey, I just got done closing a restaurant, so I am a little beat.
All right, so we're gonna do this. So the reason why we all look at Tiffany is because Tiffany really was the catalyst for this movement, and it started. Ironically, this conversation is being streamed on Facebook. It started with a post on Facebook that Tiffany posted in June of 2020. And this is obviously at a time where our community was experiencing a lot. We were processing George Floyd. It was the height of the uprising. I think Breonna Taylor was not too long after that. Our own community neighborhoods in San Francisco were experiencing violence. The pandemic had shut everything down. People were dealing with isolation and trauma from that. And there was a need for us to see each other, you know, and so Tiffany put out a post that was a bird call. I'm gonna let her use her words. What did you put in the post, Tiff?
Yes, it was definitely a bird call, as we say in our hood. And that was calling all the heavy hitters, all the leaders in the community, like, hey, you know, it was kind of like my way of saying, like, we need to have space to be with each other, which for me, since I moved, I ended up having to move back to San Francisco a little over 5 years ago to start my business. I had to move in with my family. And then it was just a lot of things that I noticed, like, hey, my people aren't here anymore, you know, like, you know, it was becoming very frustrating. Like, I don't have nowhere to necessarily go and hang out. You know, we don't really have bars or pretty much anything, you know, everybody was so spread out. So it was kind of like a bird call to just say, like, hey, you know, no matter where you at, let's meet up at Gilman Park. And everybody was they totally was into it, and yeah, a lot of people showed up. It was much needed. So yeah, and here we are. Almost a year later, still going strong because our community needs each other. So that's what we do at SF Black Wallstreet. Is definitely we fight to secure those spaces. Like, it was something that I don't think we even, like, I didn't know, it's a term that we like to use a lot, which is called spatial justice. But just simple things like that, like Black people being able to have space to be with each other, to barbecue, to do normal things. We learned that we have to fight for those things. So that's why that's one of the reasons why we're here.
Would you call SF Black Wallstreet a collective of business owners, entrepreneurs? I think I know what you mean by taking up space, because when you look at San Francisco now versus San Francisco, say 30 years ago, we know that the population of our Black San Franciscans has dramatically declined. On top of that, we know that home ownership has declined, business ownership has declined, the community is declining. But that's not to say that the community isn't there. So is this also, in a way, serving as a place for people to find each other and get that support? Bavette, I see you nodding your head.
Definitely. Go ahead, Bavette.
Well, I think it's definitely a place to get support. I mean, like, I guess for me, I was just so enamored with just like that moment, because for the 2 years prior to that, I had just been hearing from people who just moved here who were also Black, that they couldn't find Black people. And so I started doing this thing called Big Black Brunch. And so, like, now having this sisterhood and this kind of what we ended up having, the same shared values, shared morals, and shared goals, it just made just being able to do everything that we are doing right now, and we have done, so much easier, because we have a team and we trust each other. And also, I know people always like to say everybody's a boss, but no, literally everybody on our team is a boss. Like, they literally work their asses off. We don't get a 9 to 5. We're doing community work. We're doing work in our jobs. We're doing work. When people have an issue, they call us. We're there at 1 a.m, 2 a.m, and so this community work, it's not for the weak. And to be able to find other natives that are passionate about Black people, like, that was my everything. And I needed that during the pandemic when, like Tanish mentioned, just so much was happening in our communities from a negative point of view. We were able to kind of flip the script, as you will.
Gwendolyn, I see you nodding your head over there, so we need you to jump in on this too. And what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that Black business owners in San Francisco are facing right now?
To start, I think what the pandemic has offered us is the space to really look at history and to look at how policies that are in San Francisco, which has a reputation for being extremely liberal, how those practices and policies haven't been so welcoming to the economic development in the Black community. What you're seeing on social media is this onslaught of history, of instances, of information. Recently, you just saw Manhattan Beach. That whole land, that land has to be returned to its rightful owner, who are Black people, a Black family. San Francisco, Mary Ellen Pleasant, my sister Tiffany Carter, she is big on Mary Ellen Pleasant and Leadersdorf. And just this time, this pandemic, to be able to sit and have social media and all this education that has been there for years, but to be able to have the time to kind of like see, wow, this is not just a pattern. This is an intentional practice. And unfortunately, the city and county of San Francisco has been very complicit in denying Black economic development. Leola King and the Fillmore. I mean, the stories are countless. And I think that what's happened over the years is that it's become so common that it's almost normalized. And so when Black people bring up and try to elevate the injustices and the adversity that we faced at the hands of policy and government, those calls and those protests are muted. They are, they're just diminished, or they're not given the proper and just due. And so, we lose encouragement. It further traumatizes us. It discourages unity. It discourages advocacy. And so I think the reason that we are so connected is we are legacy babies. I'm not a first generation community service person. I'm not the first generation of advocacy. I'm a second generation. Well, you could say third generation of advocacy, and I'm the second generation in San Francisco. And so the legacy that I've inherited and I feel obligated to honor of my father and my family, I think gives me a strength and gives us a connection that we all share, that we're here to pick up what they left us with, and we're here to leave the next generation with a lighter load. And so I don't know, that's a lot. It's a huge, call to action, but I think we are honored to pick that call up, and we're honored to remind and bring back and reunite the rest of Black San Francisco to join us in this effort. Because one thing that I think is very clear on the way that we approach this movement that we're trying to build in this momentum is that we don't want to do it without our brothers and sisters. We refuse to do it without them. And
something I just want to piggyback off of that Bavette mentioned is a lot of people that's new to San Francisco, when they say, oh, there is no Black people in San Francisco. And a lot of that is because we don't have Black businesses at the wharf, at the pier, and in tourist destinations, and people aren't necessarily migrating or traveling to Bayview or to the Fillmore or to our residential neighborhoods to come find us. So those are the things that that I'm really big on, and I'm able to push that along with my sisters through SF Black Wallstreet, is to expand Black business throughout San Francisco. So, in the future, when you touch down in SFO, you will see a Black business. When you go to the wharf, when you go to the pier, when you go to the ferry building, like, we want to be seen throughout San Francisco. I am very big on Lettersdorf, and he was one of the founding fathers that actually helped build the Embarcadero. So it's just kind of an insult that we don't have more Black businesses in those areas.
It is really, when you mentioned your business and Chase Center, I got really excited about that for this exact reason, is that we need more of us in all of those spaces, talking about the A's, all the games, even if we're talking South Bay, it's the whole Bay Area thing, but San Francisco really is the heart of the Bay Area, and it does reflect as well. For business owners or anyone that's watching right now, especially a Black business owner, maybe this will be shared later as well, and someone will go back and watch this and they think, how can SF Black Wallstreet help me? And it may just be in terms of getting introduced to a new network of people that you didn't even know were there. Can you talk about that assistance that you can offer some other Black business owners in any space in San Francisco?
Definitely. I think a lot of the stuff that I know just come from my experience being a Black business owner, so anything I can do to assist with that, I'm always down. So if you are looking to start a business or any assistance, you can go to our website, SF Black Wallstreet, and fill out the inquiry, and we will assist you. And then I'll probably refer you to Larry McClendon, who's also on this call, because he is definitely vital, somebody I harass a lot. And he is with OEWD, and they've been a big key in my business. And so those are the steps that we, it's definitely networking and connecting those dots, and that's what we're here for. Maybe you wouldn't necessarily know to contact Larry, but I'm more than happy to introduce you to, make those connections and do whatever we can do to assist you and get your business out there. And another word we like to throw out a lot, I like to throw out a lot, is access to market. And we do that a lot with our First Fridays, you know, having vendors where they're able to pop up and sell their goods. And you know, so that's the thing with business. It's like, okay, you can start a business, but how do you actually have access to market? And I think those type of things are very important, because in, you know, how we imagine doing business in San Francisco, because the average Black person is not necessarily able to open up a retail store in a restaurant. So, you know, being very creative with how you go. Like I was very like almost like this about getting in Chase Center, because I don't have to worry about overhead, you know, just little things like that, you know, like you just got to be very smart with and creative with how you do business. And so, yeah, whatever we can do, definitely visit our website, and we're here to help.
Yes.
I just wanted to add something to what Tiffany was saying. You know, one of the things that we do as SF Black Wall Street, and I think our power really lies in this too, is that we're navigators. You know, we know how to navigate these systems. And a lot of times there's perceptions, even in our own community, right? Like, okay, there are no resources for business. That's not true. There are resources for business. And sometimes the issue is around accessibility, right? Like knowing who to connect with, knowing what the eligibility criteria is for some of the resources that are there. And then, you know, there's this thing that we call internally hood translation, but externally people call it cultural competency. When you are from our community, you know how to communicate with our community. You know how to, it's not just a providing a resource or giving a referral. It's a warm transfer. You know, we want to be with people that we trust. And we also learn from example, right? Like we're not going, our community has a hard time because we've been let down so much and quite frankly legislated out of opportunities and restricted from opportunities, both, you know, literally physically having access to space, you know, down to loans and other resources. So there's real trauma associated with folks who have businesses and folks who want to start businesses. So we can help folks navigate and understand the systems. We can support them with learning the eligibility criteria to be prepared to take advantage of some of the resources. We can also advocate because, you know, it's not all in your head. Sometimes you do walk into, you know, certain agencies or organizations expecting to get the support that you need, and you walk out empty-handed or uninformed, misinformed. So that's a big benefit that we offer to being in community and having walked through a lot of these systems and agencies. We're able to help folks navigate, understand how to access. And then we're also able to translate back to these systems and agencies and organizations. Here's where you need to do a better job to have that engagement be real and authentic. And maybe the way that you want to invest in supporting Black business makes sense for you and your agency, but doesn't necessarily translate to the support that our community really needs. So that's a big part of the work that we do in advocacy and really being able to support our people to get access. You know, I mentioned earlier in another conversation, the pandemic brought out the creativity that our community has always had. We drive culture. We create our own economies because we're always locked out of economy. And so we saw people, you know, launching businesses on social media. You know, we go to other parts of the country, like we love going to New Orleans and down south, and even out of the country. When you see our people, it's a cultural thing. People pop up and bring and sell their wares or their food or whatever it is. They create an economic system wherever they are. And we've been restricted from doing that here in San Francisco. If you come and you pop up and you bring, you know, you bring out your catering equipment so that you can serve food, not only do you have to deal, you know, with COVID, which is a very real thing, but you also have to deal with permitting and licensing, and you know whether or not you're going to, you know, experience other barriers there. So it's important for a lot of reasons to have a network of people who can support Black business owners, people who are aspiring business owners and entrepreneurs, people who even have an idea. You know, a lot of times dreams get killed before they even get fully fleshed out. You know, people are told, well, you can't do that, or they're told themselves because, you know, they've seen other folks experience those barriers or they got rejected. So we want to remove those barriers. We want to demystify the process. We want to educate people, but we also want to advocate, and we want to leverage the resources that are here to make sure that people really get access and equity, because we're behind the ball. You know, the economic situation for Black folks in this city is not a good one. You know, the average median income is over $100,000, and the average Black household has 30K. So we are way behind, you know, on lots of levels. But this gives us an opportunity to reestablish and anchor our economy, and that's what we're working to do.
And keep those dollars in our community, you know, and flowing around. So that's also very important for us. We should be able to purchase from me and, you know, and others, and keep that money in our community. So that's another thing that we've been very successful at doing.
I think one other point that I just want to bring up that we've been successful in doing is capturing media, capturing a marketing strategy that actually works for our community, that gets people engaged and gets people to action. Because as Tanish says, we have been locked out of so many things. We've also been locked out of promotion, just general marketing. I mean, there's been talks about how even just the Chronicle, how they respond to restaurants, you know, in an industry like Tiffany, not being able to get any kind of promotion in the Chronicle or other places like that. That can, in a city where we are a foodie city, that could literally kill your business because you don't get promoted to the newcomers that come here. So what we are also asking for is, you know, people say they love Black people. We see the signs about Black Lives Matter, but what are you really willing to do in your own personal agency to make that a reality for us? We shouldn't have to fight this hard. We fight hard for everyone. Now we are asking people to join us and make equity a reality, not just a talking point.
We have a couple minutes before we open up to questions. And I know that you all really came out the gate strong June 2020 and have held events, have done different things. Talk a little bit about what you have done over the last year.
Child, what we ain't did in the past year. We were talking about this, what, last night, Tiff? Like, scrolling through all the photos. I mean, it really has been an amazing.
No, I'm like, wow, we be having a lot of fun.
we live our best lives.
We really do.
With our
in
people.
San Francisco, I'm like, we don't even cross the bridge. Like, we be like, I'm really big on just speaking how we speak. So we be turned up. Like, we have a lot of fun. It's so good to see that culture and everything coming back to San Francisco, and just being able to really enjoy the city that we was all born and raised in. And we see that it was needed because people are, you know, they're very receptive to it. They come out.
Yeah.
So, and it's a lot of people that's still here, you know, and they want to do the same thing. So I think that's important. And then just also showing people like, yes, it is Black people in San Francisco. You can come to Bayview, you know, like, come on down, because we have a ball. Like, and I think a lot of people that's on our social media is like, I want to hang out with them. Like, you know.
And we have a ball, but we have been really serious about the work that we've done, and we have a lot to celebrate, right? So since June of 2020, we've launched several businesses. Several small businesses have become, you know, registered licensed businesses in San Francisco. Many of them are moving into city suppliers and, you know, moving on to become vendors. You know, we were fortunate to partner with the African American Arts and Cultural District in hosting shared spaces events, where we were able to bring that marketplace to life, bring vendors out to the streets so that they could, you know, start generating some income for their businesses and for their families during the pandemic. We've launched a huge advocacy effort to protect Black cultural space and business, one of them being Cafe Envy. Shout out to April. You know, that's
the good
our
neighbor
spot.
policy. Maybe
the good neighbor policy.
Yeah.
So, you know, and
what's the good neighbor policy? Tell people about the good neighbor policy.
So yeah, Cafe Envy is a business that has long history in our community. Cafe Envy's been around for a couple years, but the site of Cafe Envy has been Black space for over 40 years, right? It's a restaurant and bar A lot of our community, a lot of our elders, our parents, we weren't allowed to go to what it was used to be called Monte Carlo. We weren't able to go to the Carlo. Now we grown, so we go to Cafe Indy. But how this connects is, during the pandemic, this was a business that was in jeopardy. And one of the things that was jeopardizing the business, in addition to the digital divide and, all the restrictions around COVID, was that there was a neighbor that really became adamant about filing complaints and harassing the business, not just the owner and the staff there, but the patrons. And it was quite literally just turning into a situation where it was clear that this neighbor, who was a transplant, works in the tech industry, is a white man married to a white woman, white family in a neighborhood that's not only historically Black, but on a block that's largely industrial, doesn't have very many residential homes on this block. But this one neighbor in this one house filing complaints and harassing and terrorizing, quite frankly, the patrons in this Black business led to the business being closed, shut down, and impacted the entire community. And I can go on and on about it. But what it led to was an effort by SF Black Wallstreet and a lot of other partners in our community coming together, one, to rally around this space and protect this space, make sure that, we worked on COVID compliance and kept our community safe and healthy, but also approached the city about how we protect our businesses and our Black cultural space through something we call the Good Neighbor Policy, which is a value statement that we want the city and county of San Francisco to adopt, that basically says that when you come into our communities, you need to acclimate to our culture. San Francisco's culture is very unique as a city. Black San Francisco's culture is even more unique and rare. We are a community that is disconnected from our southern roots. We're all the way far to the west. It's not like when you're in Atlanta and you can drive 2 hours and be in another state, be in Alabama. We're in California, you're gonna drive for 8 hours and still be in California. So Black folks in California, specifically in San Francisco, we have our own culture. We have our own networks and connections. When you're in our communities, there are certain things that you should know about how to interact and engage with us. And that's the same for our Asian communities. That's the same for our Latino communities. That's the same for our LGBT community, especially if you're a San Francisco native. There are things that are very unique to our city and our cultures and our community that we want to protect. We can't lose our culture and authenticity. That's what makes San Francisco what it is. And we've known, from gentrification and displacement and all the other, things that have impacted our community over the past couple of decades, that San Francisco became sterile at one point. To Tiffany's point, a lot of us moved away. I moved away at one point, and came back to my city and didn't feel like I belonged here at all. I didn't see my people. I couldn't find my family members and folks in my neighborhood because they had all been pushed way out up north or into the valley. Our businesses didn't exist. And then you had transplant folks who were coming in basically saying, we have a new culture that we are placing here in San Francisco, and you all have to respect that. And so it just didn't sit well with us. And it is not going to sit well with us. So the good neighbor policy the good neighbor policy continues, and it's a citywide thing. It's not just specific to the Black community, although it started here. We've engaged with all the other cultural districts across the city. We've had input from the API groups, from the Latinx community, and those who are San Francisco natives, especially business owners, have all said the same thing. They've been dealing with 311 complaints, code and compliance enforcement complaints that have basically shut down their businesses or impacted them. And they're in agreement that we need this value statement to protect our culture and our city. So we're going to keep working on it.
And that was the thing that we really went by, was keep San Francisco cool. So it was really just a San Francisco thing. Like, we just really wanted to protect the culture. And I think that was that's one of the things that makes San Francisco, at least it did, was the different communities, was the different cultures, so we want to definitely protect that. We want, for us, it was we have to protect the Black community, we have to protect the Latino community and everybody, because we want to feel at home. And for us to feel at home, we need to have all these all this culture and all these communities, how we identify them, how we grew up. So that was very important. And then as we started talking to the other communities, we're like, wow, it's not just us, they're experiencing the same thing, And like Tanish said, San Francisco became sterile, to where it was like, where are we, And that's not the San Francisco we grew up in, so that's what the Good Neighbor policy was just really about, keeping the culture of San Francisco, San Francisco.
Yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned the other communities as well, because it's happening in the Mission and in Chinatown. You go across the bridge, it's happening in downtown Oakland, now West Oakland. It is definitely an issue, and it's not only protecting the communities, but then celebrating them as well. So absolutely, that's a great policy. And now that we have approached past the half-hour mark, I want to dive into some of the questions from the group that are coming in here. First, we do have a comment from Bridget LeBlanc. She says, proud of San Francisco Black women representing community. Keep marching, continue to make us proud. Doris Ward would be proud because she always asks at every meeting, what is the Black agenda? So that is a message to you four. And then this question coming in from Kisu Kirkwood. She says, okay, so this is for you, Tiffany. Can you talk about how you got into Chase Center?
I didn't take no for an answer. I probably submitted like 1,000 applications, and that's just word to any entrepreneur, is you have to really, you just can't give up. I don't take no for an answer. You probably have to blame my mom because, I don't know. I just networking, talking to the right people, and just, that's how I got in. Like I think a lot of people ask me that and they want like some magic answer. I just submitted and harassed people, and that's how I got in. And then they came and tasted my food, and that sealed the deal.
Okay. So, and I want to follow up with that too, because I think a lot of people think, oh, wow, Chase Center. I mean, it's this brand new stadium. It's the Warriors, it's every, I think, restaurant owner's dream to be in a space like that. Did you already have a brick and mortar? Some people think, oh, do I need to have a physical restaurant? Do I need to have a food truck? What do I need to have? Do you need to have all those things, you think?
I mean, maybe, probably. I had a little food trailer right at 3rd and Hudson. So I had a container, outdoor eating, and I had the food trailer. So it definitely worked in my favor. Before that, I did a lot of pop-ups. So, just put yourself out there so that, that people can take you seriously. So it definitely helped. And then the day that they came, literally the whole Hunters Point baby was at my eatery that day. So that also helped. So yeah, definitely do what you gotta do.
Okay, we have a comment coming in from Brian Springfield here. He says, I signed the Good Neighbor petition on the Black Wallstreet website. I see that the number of signatures is near the goal. Would it be good to ask attendees to sign and share on social media? Thank you for the great work you are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please. Yes, please sign and share. That the work around the Good Neighbor policy continues, and we'll probably be having a public hearing about it sometime soon. So please sign. Thank you.
Yes. Another question here, Gwendolyn, and really this is open to the whole group as well, but can you speak on what's next for SF Black Wallstreet? Are there any events coming up, and what can people do to get involved as well? Absolutely.
So the next big event that we're working on is Juneteenth. You guys know the story now, how we came together. And so this year we'll be having Juneteenth again at Gilman Park. There's going to be a Juneteenth celebration in the Fillmore on Saturday, and then we're going to be back at Gilman Park on Sunday. And so the weekend of June 18th to the 20th is going to be Juneteenth in the city. So everyone is invited. We're hoping to provide activities for everyone in the family, making sure that we have vendors there, so that we can, wait, Tiff, you know what it is. What is it called? Bring it to marketplace, right, Tiff?
Access to market.
Access to market.
Yep.
So those mom and pop small businesses, this is their opportunity to sell out all and bring all their inventory, and for you guys to get to know who they are, to try out their products, and to really just enjoy yourself and have a great time. This is really an opportunity for all of us to fellowship and to have a really, really, really great day with each other. It's also Father's Day. And so we're going to definitely make sure that we elevate the fathers who are here and who are in heaven, and make sure that at that day or that weekend, that this is the weekend you want to be in San Francisco if you're Black. If you're
not Black, but
right, you know what?
If you're Black,
because Black is plural. Let me just throw that out there, right? Black is plural, and so come on through, guys. Okay, this is the time where you hang out with your cousins on your daddy's side, so you already know what that means.
And then if you're looking for something in the near future, it's always Black Brunch, which Bavette can talk more about that. She's doing something on Sundays for Mother's Day, and that's in the Soma district, which is great because I'm all about expanding outside of our neighborhood. So Bavette, you can talk more on that.
So this Sunday, we are kicking off edition 2 of Big Black Brunch in Soma. So one of our restaurants in Soma was also a victim of 311 calls, as well as the Filipino Cultural District in the fall. It was actually a physical abuse that happened to some of our brothers and sisters. And so in a way to support trademark copyright bar, we have had socially safe, COVID safe brunches there. And so we finally got the city and to be a partner, and Livable Cities is providing some of the barricades and stuff like that so that we could actually shut down the streets. And it's going to be block party style every Sunday in May. And we're partnering with all of the other 8 businesses in the community as well. And they'll be able to kind of revitalize that area, because also Soma doesn't get a lot of foot traffic. And so we want to kind of revitalize the South of Market area, as well as to provide more space. So last month, all of our Big Black Brunches were sold out and there wasn't enough space. So having this permit is essential to keeping our communities safe and healthy. And we look forward to partnering with more city agencies to make sure that people know what resources are available to people for the summer. And just to kind of kick it back to what we're doing for SF Black Wallstreet and Juneteenth, for a lot of people, it's not just individuals. If you work somewhere or you have a corporation, this is the time to invest in organizations like SF Black Wallstreet, who we are trying to fight to create pots of money to help Black people become homeowners in San Francisco. We are, going to be sometime in the future creating a fund to kind of help more of our small businesses get access to grants, since it's been really challenging for them to get access to regular financial products through the banking and financial institutions. So this is also a call out to come and check in with us. Think about the ways that you can partner with us and provide support so that we can make Juneteenth fun for everybody. Like Gwen said, we're all family here in San Francisco, and we'd love to see, the entire San Francisco come out and financially support with their economic dollars our small businesses that day.
I love that. And where can people find more information about the brunch?
For more information about the brunch, there's a Facebook and an Instagram page for Big Black Brunch. So if you just follow Big Black Brunch, there's information about that. And then for SF Black Wallstreet, please make sure you follow us. We also have an Instagram, Facebook page, and we have a website. And if you would like to be a vendor, we do have a page to sign up to be a vendor. We have other pages to sign up to do all types of things. If you want to volunteer with us, And then also, if you want to talk to us about sponsorship or helping to, help, we have a big task on hand. We're dreaming big this year for Juneteenth. We want to have a Ferris wheel. We want to have a kids zone. We want to make sure that we have all of the PPP and stuff like that, because while we know people are being vaccinated, we still need to have those things in place, and it's going to cost money. And one other thing that we did that Tiffany was really instrumental, and Gwen and the entire team, was last year we fed the community for free, because we knew that so many people did not have access to food. And so if anybody's in touch with people who are willing to donate food, that would be a heavy lift as well, because we want to make sure that everyone on that day is fed.
I love that. And there was someone else jumping in here. I want to make sure you get your time. Yes.
It was me, not just for events. SF Black Wallstreet, we're super honored and proud that we were recently awarded a pot of funds through the Dreamkeeper Initiative. We're going to be launching our Black Millionaire Development Program in summer of 2021, right around Juneteenth. So we're extremely excited about that. Just want to thank the Office of Workforce and Economic Development for all the support that they have given to the grassroots advocacy
Shout out to
around
Larry.
Black business. Shout out to Larry specifically.
Yes.
But definitely to the department. I think the city has really been responsive to our leadership. And want to shout out President Walton, Mayor Breed, and Director Davis from the HRC. It really matters. It matters to have investments come directly back to the people who are on the ground, so that we can be a part of building that infrastructure in our community. And so Juneteenth and everything else we're doing feeds into that Black economy that we're recreating, like Tiffany said, to bring those dollars back into our community. One of the biggest highlights of Juneteenth is going to be the Black marketplace. We're going to be bringing vendors back in so that they can set up, in addition to all the other fun things that we're going to do. Is definitely going to be lit. It's definitely going to be San Francisco culture, a lot of history, our music, our food, the way we come together and celebrate. But it's also going to be another big flag in the ground, another big milestone for us in terms of how we're anchoring our economy. And I'll just say, as someone who, launched my business right around the time that we, did Juneteenth, I'm in the number of folks who have been able to really get a footing and build my business through the work that we do and through the networking and partnerships that we have, through SF Black Wallstreet in community. So yes, we have a good time. Yes, we throw amazing events. Yes, people love kicking it with us, ask about us. But it's always party with a purpose and party with the intent to continue building the infrastructure of our community. And so that's the benefit that y'all get when you come out and support anything SF Black Wallstreet does, is that it continues to build our economy.
As we begin to wind down this conversation, I would love for each of you, and you can take your time answering this question, but for each of you to talk about what your goal is and the vision for SF Black Wallstreet, say even a year from now, hopefully completely out of this pandemic as well.
I'll start it off. We definitely are definitely focused on building Black millionaires in San Francisco, following in the footsteps of our ancestors, because there was Black millionaires in San Francisco. I was so surprised when I read the book, Black Fortunes, to open the book and the first page say San Francisco, California, because that was history that I never knew about, so we need equity. So I want to see Black homeowners again in San Francisco, as many of our grandparents migrated here from the South and worked at the shipyard. They were able to buy homes. And like I always say, I've never really had the opportunity to rent or buy in San Francisco as a native, as someone that was born here. So we definitely want to build up Black equity, and that's what I want to see SF Black Wallstreet really lead in that fight to build Black equity in San Francisco. And we are very, very 10 toes down on making that happen. And just bringing that culture back, because I'll be so offended when they say it's no Black people in San Francisco. I'll be mad, because we definitely here, it's definitely a culture. It's not like a Southern culture. You know, I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand, you know, the culture, because San Francisco is a culture within itself, you know, and I'm a proud San Franciscan. And so, yeah, I'm focused on that, and I want to see that happen. I've already seen it happen. And so it's just more of continuing it and growing it.
Thank you, Tiffany. Gwen?
Yeah, so in a year, I would love to see some of these Black businesses open up online through e-commerce, as well as brick and mortar stores and restaurants and shops. I just love this whole idea of these outdoor markets, shared spaces, and bringing access to market, trading. One of my personal goals and commitments to my team at Black Wall Street is to literally walk them through the process of purchasing their first homes. I was lucky enough to purchase a home in San Francisco, and the freedom and liberation and the support and foundation that I feel like it provides me is something that I want to be extended to my Black Wall Street sisters. So much of the economic trauma that Black San Franciscans have endured have led to a lot of the destruction that plague our communities today. And just internally, for me, the healing that I'm looking for is economic. So I would love to have that type of foundation that helps to rebuild and provide real healing for my people in San Francisco, so that we can rebuild those numbers, and that what we leave is better than what we inherited. And so this is my commitment. This is what I would love for us to see. And I have no doubt that we are going to be instrumental in creating that impact for Black San Francisco.
I love that, Gwen. And I'll call you Gwen now. I think we're friends. So I don't have to call you Gwendolyn. Zachary Brown, like in your intro. Babette, what about you?
I'm very focused on this year. We're not going to lose not one person from community. That's my focus. We're not going to lose a Black business. We're not going to lose a Black home. We're not going to lose one more Black person from San Francisco. And in fact, we're going to be doing recruitment and bringing people back to San Francisco, showing them where the resources are to come back. I'm very passionate also about the Certificate of Preference program with the city, which was a promise that was made to Black San Franciscans who were bulldozed and their homes were taken from them and their businesses were taken from them. And they were not given a fair market price for their businesses or their homes. And they were given a piece of paper. And that's all it's been for almost 50 years, is a piece of paper. And that dream has never been realized. And now we're on the second and third generation. And I'm just so thankful again for my sisters who came and helped support to advocate to get the Certificate of Preference expanded to grandchildren, because the city owe that community and those people who've been pushed out of San Francisco an opportunity to come back home. And they owe them the resources to be able to do that in a dignified manner. And so that's what I'm focused on this year.
Yes.
And displacement work.
Absolutely. That is so great. I just learned something new too. Tanish, your final thoughts here.
Oh man, I would like to see Black San Francisco not just be an afterthought. You know, I would like to see Black San Francisco be centered. You know, our history centered, our contribution centered, in the planning and thinking around the design of our neighborhoods and investments. I want to see us centered. I want to see Black folks with agency, you know, knowing that they have the authority and the ability to say, this is what I want to see for my business, for my family, for my community, and not feel like they have to apologize or shrink themselves for it. And I want like Gwen said, I want tangible equity. I want to see us with keys to homes and buildings that we own, you know, businesses that we are not just the minority partner in, but that we actually own businesses, and that we don't have to negotiate being Black space. You know, that's another big issue that we have, that even if you're Black and you have something in San Francisco, you almost have to negotiate how Black your space is just to make sure you can keep the space. We over that. Like we want to be able to be our full selves, and bring joy and experience joy, without the gaze and without having to shrink ourselves just so that we can stay here. We have always been stakeholders. You know, we're the lifeblood of this city, and with respect. You know, the work that we do uplifts the entire city, every ethnic group, every culture, every neighborhood. And so we just want to see that respected, protected, and we want to grow it out. And we want our money. That's what we want. I want to see us paid.
Yes. On that note, we have a comment here coming from Mark Jackson. He says, to all of you, inspiring. Thanks all, learning from best practices around the nation and how we can apply in Syracuse's Black Renaissance. Every good wish. Thank you for sharing tonight. So I echo that sentiment as well. Thank you all so much for taking your time, your energy, because really this is so much energy that you're putting into everything, not only in this 1 hour that we have talked, but through your space every single day, because I know that advocacy is an every day, every minute function. It is not something that you just turn on and off. So we really appreciate that. And one more thing from Brian Springfield coming in here. He said, I just found out about this program today and I am so happy, in all caps, I did. What a great program this was. And now I have plans for June 19th. So there we go. And that's what this is about. Building community. I love it. I love it. And also, I know you all were shouting out the South. I am coming to you from my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia tonight, but I am happy to be in San Francisco and supporting this movement as well. I think it is amazing. So thank you to all of you. And on that note,
Atlanta.
yes, we love Atlanta. Come on, we'll bring some Atlanta to the West Coast.
Yeah, I lived in Atlanta. I love Atlanta.
Like Wall Street Retreat 2020, Atlanta.
Atlanta, yes,
Come to see you,
exactly.
Jobina.
We can
definitely
come back.
to see you.
Oh, and one more final from Bridget. She says, thank you. So proud of you all. This is the business, and it is.
It is.
It is.
We want our money.
Thank you, Miss Bridget.
Yes, thank you, Bridget. Thank you again. I mean, really, thank you. And Lloyd, I will let you close out tonight because we'll just keep talking because that's what we do.
Lloyd knows what we do. That's our cousin.
I am happy to be y'all cousin. All right. I just want to let y'all know I've got my daughters. They were upstairs. I brought them downstairs so they can hear this whole entire thing, so they can understand Black girl magic and the beauty in what we bring to the table. Everyone, thank you all for joining us tonight. I just want to tell you about a campaign we got going on that we've been working with the San Francisco African American Arts and Cultural District, and we've been supported by Make It Black out of the CCC. It's called Together We Heal. This campaign is pretty much, we started off trying to help the African American community to be able to make it through COVID-19, and also to pretty much help us understand that when we lose one of our community members, we lose a hero. And so we got community members from all throughout San Francisco and from all cultures. And we asked them to take pictures with their mask on. And this is just pretty much trying to help promote the different health orders and to help promote following the different health advice from the officials and from the professionals. So when you walk through the city, you may see on our SFMTA buses, or you may see on billboards, or you may see posters inside restaurants or other businesses. To be able to help support this campaign, please follow the health orders, because all we want to do is make sure everybody heal together. Thank you for joining us, and please support the campaign. So thank you for joining us. For upcoming events, visit sfsmallbusinessweek.com/get involved. And thank you. Good night.